All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for being here on a Friday. It's good to see all of you. My name is Rich Rector, and I am a MAPS leadership coach. I've been a MAPS leadership coach for, about 13 years now, and have been in the recruiting game for quite some time. I've been in real estate almost 30 years. And have recruited about 3,000 agents roughly in my career. So recruiting is my thing that I'm passionate about. And I wanted to share with you some key components today of recruiting mastery, some things to think about as we move into the second half of the year, and through the third and fourth quarters. Some things to think about as you look at your recruiting system. And you look at your level of mastery relative to recruiting. So with that, let me just kind of start off with a question for you to think about. And the first thing I would say is that in all my years of coaching leaders, even before I was with Keller Williams, I've coached, literally almost about 2,200, 2,300 leaders, and even before Keller Williams with all different brands. And there's one thing that holds true, and that is that all great recruiters have a system. Okay, you can be naturally talented and get lucky and things like that, but the recruiters that consistently have great results, put up big numbers, have a system. So I wanted to start by asking you this question as you're moving through the third, and fourth quarter, second half of the year here. What is your recruiting system? What's your system? And again, why are some recruiters, some team leaders, good and others great? And you know what I'm talking about. You see these different people that are on panels, right? We've got, masterminds next week. We have mega camp next month. I mean, you're going to see some of these people that, are bringing in big numbers, 30 recruits a month and so on. How do they do that, right? And what makes them different than everybody else, right? Good versus great. It's because they have a system, and really it's their level of mastery of their recruiting system. We're going to talk about that today. So understand that recruiting, like real estate sales, is very predictable. It's something that we can duplicate. You need to first have foundational components of your system, and then it's all about how good you are at mastering the different pieces of the recruiting system. So let's talk about what a recruiting system looks like, right? So I wrote down, 10 key components of a recruiting system, and I want you to rate yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, right? Maybe take a picture of this slide, and you can do this after we get done, but rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 on your level of effectiveness, mastery, understanding of each of these components. So number one, to have a great recruiting system, you have to have a strategic and predictable recruiting plan. Okay, I'm not just talking about a 1-3-5 and a business plan for the market center. I'm talking about a strategic, specific recruiting plan that talks about, how many dials that you need to make. Do you know how many dials you need to make to get somebody to answer the phone, to have a contact? Do you know how many contacts you need to have to get somebody to give you an appointment? Do you know how many appointments that you need to set based on your show rate, right? The show up rate, reschedule rate, to actually get somebody in front of you? And when you have somebody in front of you, do you know how many appointments, live in front of you appointments, that you have to have until you get a hire? And even before that, do you know how many hours it takes you to get somebody to answer the phone? Because 70% of the agents don't answer the phone. Answer the phone, have your contact, turn that into an appointment, because all of those numbers are numbers that you can track. And the top recruiters in our industry know their numbers relative to that, so that they know that literally every hour they can get an appointment with an experienced agent or a market share agent. Every hour. They know that they're going to probably make 5 contacts an hour. They know that they're going to have to dial 15 numbers to get 5 people to answer the phone. And they know that if they're a 1 out of 4 hire ratio, that means they're going to hire 1 person out of every 4 meetings. So that means that it's going to take them 4 hours of lead gen time to hire an experienced agent, right? Of lead gen time. They're going to obviously have their appointment time. So that's an example of having a strategic, predictable recruiting plan, something that you can build around. Number 2, scale of 1 to 10, how good are you? How good is your system at creating your target list and determining what your most effective recruiting strategies are? We're going to talk about recruiting strategies in a minute. Do you know what your most effective recruiting strategies are for an indie, for a mega agent office, for a capper, for a half capper, for a newbie? Because the strategies are all different, right? How are you on a scale of 1 to 10, number 3, at mastering our leadership playbook? Mastering the leadership playbook. Do you know what the leadership playbook is that we've been talking about, right? On the growth calls, on the national calls on Monday. Are you clear on what the leadership playbook is? Number 4, critical, is setting appointments. How good are you on a scale of 1 to 10 at setting up appointments? Or do you have a system that's setting up appointments? Because nothing happens if you don't have an appointment, right? So what is your appointment or lead generation system around recruiting, right? Is it effective? Again, do you know how much time it's going to take for you to get enough appointments to get the results that you want? And do you know where who's going to set those appointments? Is it going to be you? Is it going to be your team? Is it going to be, a virtual assistant? Who's going to help you get there? Because one of the things that I share with my clients is an org chart of how to recruit 25 people, how to recruit 50 people in a month, because it's all numbers. It's just plugging in enough people to do the numbers to get the results, right? It's predictable, it's strategic. So how good are you at getting appointments? Are you getting enough appointments? Because if you're not, it's kind of one of 2 things. If you're not getting the recruiting results that you want, it's either you don't have enough at bats or you need help with your skills, right? Or both. Number 5, how good are you at communicating our value propositions, the recruiting presentation, the needs analysis, right? Without telling and selling, but asking questions, creating self-discovery, so that you're having a consulting conversation with somebody and they're having aha moments about, wow, I didn't realize what my big why was. I didn't realize that this was my gap. I didn't realize that I've hit a ceiling and I've outgrown my broker. How good are you at asking those questions in a business consultation, a needs analysis appointment, to really get the light bulb to go on, where somebody is on the edge of their seat, right? Wowed about the conversation, that you're helping them discover that about themselves and the needs that they have and the challenges that they have. Number 6, how good are you at closing, right? Look at your pipeline right now. Go take a look at your pipeline when we get off the call. And ask yourself, right, what's it going to take to close those people? What's holding them back from joining you? So how would you rate yourself in the area of closing? Handling objections, right? The interesting thing about recruiting is that there's only a handful of objections. There's, the appointment setting objections, And then there's the closing and joining objections. That's just only a handful of them. So we just need to learn the answers to those. And we need to set up during your presentation so that you've eliminated a lot of the objections. So how good are you at handling objections? I'm busy. I'm happy where I'm at. I don't want to move. I like my broker. I have a better, compensation program where I'm at. I have too much business. Can't move right now. What other objections are there? We just need to learn how to handle those. Number 7, one of the most critical pieces to having a successful recruiting system is your time, right? We all have the same amount of time in the day, right? How's your schedule management system? How are you doing with time management? How are you doing with accountability? How are you doing tracking your numbers so that you can monitor your progress and if you're growing and moving towards your goals? Number 8, critical. Did you know that 70% of your hires will join you during the lead follow-up process? Very few meet with you the first time and say, here's my license, where do I sit, right? So how's your lead follow-up system? Are you clear on what it is? Is it consistent? Do you know what to send, what to say, how often? Do you have a good lead follow-up program? Number 9, the minute that they say yes, right? You guys know this. That's when the real work starts, right? We got to get them over from their brokerage. We have to coach them through their exit interview. We have to simulate the experience that they're going to have when that broker rolls out the red carpet and attempt to save them. So do you position those recruits and work with those recruits before you send them back into the lion's den to talk to the broker about leaving so that they're prepared, right? And we can get them over. So what does that look like? And then lastly, how are you at leveraging your hires? This is one of the areas that as an industry, I think that we struggle with, is that we don't market our success significantly. We don't leverage the people that we're bringing in and the influence that they have to get more appointments. We might, say, hey, we have profit shared. Let me know if there's anybody you want me to talk to. We might do a social media post that this person joined. That's about it for most offices, right? Market centers. There's an 11-point plan on how to turn one hire into 3 that I go through in my Rockstar recruiting program, right? And again, that's one of the areas where I think we fall down, right? Leverage your success and turn that one hire into multiple hires. If you can turn one hire into 3, think about how much easier life becomes. You want to hire 12 cappers, right? All we need to do is go get 4 good ones, right? And really leverage their influence and turn that into 12. So how good are you on a scale of 1 to 10 in all of those areas of the recruiting system? See, again, the difference between somebody that's good and somebody that's great is their level of mastery of the system. That's all. And the leverage and support that they have in a lot of cases to make sure they're getting enough at bats. Right, let's move real quickly into recruiting sources and strategies. So what I want you to think about, what are your best recruiting strategies? As you reflect on the first half of the year, you look at your numbers, mid-year review, what are your best strategies? What have they been this year? And how do you plus those up in the second half of the year? What do you need to do to plus those things up that were already working so well for you in your recruiting system? And are you using all of the recruiting sources? Here's another opportunity for you. It's called the accumulation effect. The people that are recruiting 15, 20, 30 agents a month, they don't do that by just having one recruiting source, right? It's multiple recruiting sources and strategies that are working simultaneously to create massive results like that, right? So they're hosting, events on a regular basis, right? They're leveraging, their hires like we just talked about and getting referrals to their ALC. They have a great a marketing campaign going out in their community, telling their story, agents' success stories, hire announcements, invitations to events, marketing their lower numbers, right? So there's multiple recruiting strategies that they're working simultaneously that all work to create those massive results that they have. Here are some of those sources. So again, take a picture of this. I would rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 when we're done with this call. And just be honest with yourself. How would you say on a scale of 1 to 10 you are on talking to people on the phone? Right? I mean, as much as we love texting and emailing and you know, Facebook and all that kind of stuff, at some point you're probably going to have to use the phone to talk to somebody, to get an appointment, to do lead follow-up, to get them over to join you, right? So how good are you on the phone? How good are you on scripts, on what to say, tonality, voice inflections, energy? 80% of appointment setting is energy and enthusiasm. So how good are you? Do you practice? Do you role play? Do you work with some people? Do you have a coach that's helping you, right? Agent referrals, big recruiting source, especially in our company with profit sharing. However, are you maximizing that? Do you ask on a regular basis? You know, are you recognizing the people that are giving you referrals individually and publicly? What are you doing to cultivate more referrals? Right? One of the things, just a quick tip on getting more referrals, think about how you're asking for them. You know, are you saying, hey, you know, let me know if you know anybody that you know, would want to join Keller Williams so that we can get you plugged into profit share? Or would you say something like, who do you know that could benefit from this environment and these tools and the things that are working so well for you and your business? Who do you know that we can help by plugging them into these things that I could talk to? See, now they're helping their friends versus talking about, you know, their profit tree. So how you ask is important. So consider that. Take a look at some of those things. Recruiting events. We got to get back to having more events, right? Right? People are, you know, now out of the house with the pandemic, right? They're coming back in the office. They're out in the field. Let's get back to having events, right? That's one of the cornerstones that Keller Williams has, right? Is our events that we put on. Co-broke transactions. Are you talking to the agent on the other side of the deal? Right? You have cold leads, you have warm leads. Which ones would you rather work, right? Well, the warm leads are referrals and they're co-brokes. Even if you don't know them, you give them a call and just say, hey, I just wanted to call and thank you for the transaction you had with our market center. As a special thank you, I'd like to include you in the, you know, mid-year business planning clinic that we're hosting next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. Would you like to be my guest? Or as a special thank you, I'd love to get together with you for a mid-year business plan. That's some great tactics and strategies we're sharing with our agents that are helping them create momentum moving through the third quarter. Are you interested in taking more listings in this tight inventory market? Right? So co-broke calls, important. Are you getting out and seeing the people? This is just starting to happen again, right? Depending on where you're at in the country. Open houses, board events, tours, mixers. Are you getting out and seeing agents? Because a lot of agents want to see people because we've been sequestered, right? So, you know, think about that. Take a look at that. Host them yourself. Be the leader in your community to start getting people back together again. Leverage those hires like we talked about. Turn one hire into 3. Social media. Are you using video? Are you using, you know, Facebook? Are you using, you know, texting? What are you doing there to tell your story? If you can't get people to answer the phone, try some of these other avenues. Most of the time, they'll answer a personal Facebook message or private message that you send them, right? And obviously, a lot of you text, so you know the response right there as well. What type of marketing do you have? I touched on this a minute ago, right? In my mind, I think it needs to be local, right? Your smart plans need to be agent testimonials, people winning in your office, people joining the hire announcements, how you're outperforming the market with your lower numbers, and then invitations to these events. New agents, number 9 on a scale of 1 to 10. How good is your new agent system, right? Or do you have access to a licensing school? Do you have your own? right? Are you connected? Are you doing career seminars? Are you running ads? Are you getting referrals? What are you doing, right, to plus that up if that's one of your goals? Number 10 is leverage. We're seeing a lot more of this. And that is who's on your team, who's helping you, because this is really just a numbers game. You know, do you have an ATL that's helping you? Do you have a growth committee? Do you, as your MCA, your ASC, your ALC, are they helping you? Do you have, a cyber recruiter, a virtual assistant? I mean, do you know that right now there's over 255 cyber recruiters, cyber backers that are working for leadership in our company? This is like a hot thing. So think about, the leverage that you can create with the people that you have access to. So it's not just about you if you want to have big numbers. KW initiatives, right? Indies, mega agent offices, right? How good are you at communicating the referral network and using Keller Mortgage? So recruiting sources, look at those and rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. A couple other things I want to go through real quick. With experienced agents, right? Their mindset is critically important. And here's something that you want to think about as you're putting together your marketing campaign and your messages, smart plans, as you're, figuring out what to say when you call somebody. Remember this, that agents fear change, right? That's the biggest obstacle that we're going to have in recruiting experienced agents, is the fact that they fear change. They don't want to move. They're happy where they're at, right? They didn't wake up today hoping that, somebody from Keller Williams calls them to get an appointment to change companies, right? It's not even a conscious thought that they had, right? 90% of them, 95% of them didn't have that thought. So they don't want to move. They're happy where they're at. They fear change. They believe they're at the best company. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. Now, you and I know different, but that doesn't matter, right? Their perception is their reality. So we're dealing with this mindset. So we have to ask ourselves, what's our approach? Should our approach be, do you want to move? Do you want to move? Do you want to move? When 95% of them don't, as you can see from the first 4 bullet points there. Or should it be coming from contribution? Offering some value, offering some strategies, tactics to take more listings, to protect your business as the market, begins to level off. Could it be inviting them to mega camp, to masterminds, to an event, right? Coming from contribution. So think about the approach that you're using to get appointments relative to the mindset of the agent. Their hot buttons of experienced agents are time and money, right? Make the most amount of money in the least amount of time. That's what we all want to do. Right? So you should gear your presentation around those things, your conversations around those things. Hey, one of the things that I know about great agents, right? It's about 1 of 2 things, time or money. Which is it for you? What's most important to you? What a great opening question, right? Agents are self-interested. What does that mean? They're interested in that, right? They're independent contractors. I want to make the most amount of money in the least amount of time so I can enjoy the quality of life that I want to have with my family, my friends, right? So they're not really interested in us, in MAPS, right? They don't necessarily want to go to lunch. They don't necessarily need another friend. They don't necessarily care that we just opened a new office or that you're the new team leader, right? So we don't necessarily want to use that approach. We want to make it about them. So think about that and how you're communicating out there in the field. Curiosity is created by using third-party success or testimonials. When another agent is winning, even if they don't know them, they're curious because they're competitive. If I tell you that, did you know that Barbara Smith in our office just took 6 listings in the last 30 days? You want to know what she's doing, whether you know who she is or not. So agent success stories. Curiosity, when you're on the phone to set an appointment, you have less than 10 seconds to create curiosity. Otherwise, the person on the other end of the line is checked out. So time's not your friend in recruiting, so you need to get good on what you're saying to get appointments. Benefit evidence. Remember that. Benefit evidence. When you're communicating, when you're presenting, it's all about the benefit, and then the evidence of people using it to win, which we'll talk about that, right? So in the needs analysis, when you've set an appointment, here are the key things that you really want to know. One is, do you know what their goal is? Do they know what their goal is? And a lot of times you have to help flesh that out. For example, you want to reframe questions. What's your goal? I don't know. Well, how much money do you want to make? Well, I'm not sure. Can't use any of those, right? Well, how much money do you need to make? See, most people know the answer to that. Well, I need to make, $5,000 a month to get by. Great. How much would you like to make, assuming you don't want to just get by? I don't know, like 10,000, double that. Great. So would it be safe to say your goal is 120,000? I guess so. Great. So, how good are you at reframing those questions and really, getting them to self-discover the answers? Because in order to move them through the recruiting process, right, we have to make sure we get the answers to certain things, because we have to establish a gap. They're at this point making 5,000 a month and they want to make 10,000 a month. And the reason that, and what they're going to do and how that extra 5,000 a month is going to impact their life, right? Or $1,000 a week is going to impact their life in additional cash flow, is it's going to do X. Help their kids get into that private school, right? You have to help them crystallize a vision and a why. I get it that most people don't have a why, but we have to get them to engage in the conversation. So when you're making an extra $5,000 a month, over $1,000 a week in additional cash flow on top of what you're making now, how does that change things for you? What would you spend an extra $1,000 a week on? See, that's how you get somebody to play the game, to get the why. You got to determine their level of motivation. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it for you to accomplish that goal, to get to 10,000 a month so you can put your kids into that private school? On a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you to making that happen? See, we have to establish a starting point, an ending point, a point. Why do they want to get there, and how motivated are they to get there? And it's our job to help them through that. So again, self-discovery, use clarifying questions to get them to recognize their reality. The needs analysis, hopefully you all have that, right? If you don't, shoot me an email, I'll send it to you, right? As well as the 10-step recruiting presentation. Right? You've got to really use that as a consultation, really an outline to follow, so that you don't get off track and you can lead them through the self-discovery process so that you have a reason to present to them. Back to our little role play here. So you want to go from 5 to 10,000 a month, get your kids in that private school on a scale of 1 to 10. It's a 9, so failure is not an option, right? So how do you see yourself getting there? Right, we're at the halfway point in the year and you're tracking for 5,000 versus 10,000. Did you realize that? Would you like me to show you what the $10,000 a month agents are doing right now in this market? Absolutely. Then I can pivot right into the presentation, right? Which we'll talk about in 1 second. So what are the benefits that you're going to present to show them how to go from 5 to 10,000? What are they? Are you clear on them? Do you know how to present them without overselling them? Coaching, consulting, right? Your involvement in their business, your productivity coach, MAPS coaching, what's consulting and coaching look like? What's your environment or productivity look like? What's your education and our advanced agent training that we have? 33, 36 touch client follow-up system, right? Our technology with smart plans, right? Our tools like Keller Mortgage, MREA, models, referral network. Again, are you communicating those in a way right here where you're not overselling them? So I like to use the 10-step presentation. I can send this to you if you want, where you, again, like with the needs analysis, systematically present each benefit separately to get them to sell themselves on the value of the benefit. For example, let's say I was talking about coaching. So Bob, let me share with you how our coaching and consulting program works. We get together with our agents, we dissect their business, we formulate specific strategies based on their strengths and the opportunities that they have. Let me share with you how this coaching and support program is impacting our agents' incomes. Alice Jones in our office was doing about 12 deals a year. Plugged into our coaching, she's on track for 23. So do you see value in this type of coaching and support? Well, sure. How do you see yourself using it in your business? Gosh, if I had somebody, help keep me on track and help me with the plan, that would be great. Super. So over the next 12 months, how many additional transactions do you see yourself adding to your business with this type of coaching and support? Be conservative. What do you think over the next year? Gosh, I don't know, maybe 4. Great. I write down their answer, right? Step 6, write down the answer. Now I go back up to step 1 again, present the next benefit. Provide some evidence, ask them if they see value, ask them how they would use it in their business, and then have them quantify it. Over the next 12 months, how many additional transactions do you think you could add to your business using this technology platform? Gosh, I don't know, 5. Great. I get done presenting all those benefits on the previous screen, right? 5 to 6 max. I feed them back to them, reaffirm their answers. You said there was 4 from coaching and 3 from the technology and 4 from the models and systems and 3 from our environment and productivity, right? 4 from the models and systems. That's a total of 10 additional transactions. Is that correct? Yes. What's your average gross commission per deal? It's $7,000. So 7,000 times 10 additional transactions is an additional $70,000 in income. Is that correct? Well, gosh, I guess it is. Now, when we were talking earlier, you said your goal is to go from $5,000 to $10,000 a month, an extra $60,000 in income. Can you see how by just plugging yourself in and not even working any harder, you can begin accomplishing your goals this year? Let's get started, okay? That's the 10-step presentation. So real quick, I know we're getting tight on time. The Rockstar Recruiting Program. This is a program that I have been teaching here for about almost 13 years with Keller Williams. We have 2 launches a year. Our second one for this year, we're just ending our first group, starts next month, August 19th. Okay, it's a program that we've put thousands of people through in this company, leaders in this company, anybody that wants to recruit, right? So if you're interested in going through a deep dive of all these things that we talked about today, right? Mastering recruiting, consider Rockstar Recruiting starting on the 19th. Your entire market center is included with 1 registration. That means your ATL can participate, your VA can participate, right? Your growth team can participate. Their MCA can, anybody that wants to learn how to recruit that's part of your leadership group and your team can participate for 1 registration. What's also cool about this program is that we do live webcam prospecting every week for those of you that want to jump in and lead generate with me and lead generate with other team leaders and learn, the skills and continue to get better at your appointment setting ratios. And that's a program that's also included in this. So if you'd like to participate, there's a link. You can email me or you can just go to MAPS, right? Just go to mapscoaching.com under group programs, Rockstar Recruiting to save your spot, okay? So with that, it's only $199, 6-month program. It includes all the scripts, materials. I have videos, presentation videos that I've done, a whole package and kit comes with it. I've got smart plans. We have all kinds of things that we're adding and doing on a regular basis as things continue to evolve with our company. New scripts. I've got new scripts that I wrote not even 2 weeks ago. So take a look at that program if you're interested in taking recruiting to the next level. Does anybody have any questions or anything before we adjourn? You can put them in the chat if that's something that you're interested in. Anybody have any questions? All right, you know how to get a hold of me. Thank you for participating today. Hopefully you got a nugget or 2 that you can use as you start the second half of the year and and move through the third quarter. I hope to see you in the Rockstar Recruiting Program on the 19th next month. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.